Hey guys, welcome to our podcast where it has to be said. My name is Elvis.
And I'm Denise.
Babe, let's talk.
Let's talk.
This is like take 15, guys. It's late at night. We're trying to figure this out, but yeah.
Emotions were running.
Yeah, especially in that side of the camera. But we're here. We got some good things
I
to
always
talk
get
about.
blamed, but here we are. The debate was, well, not a debate, but I think we got stuck in the thought of, do we need to ask permission to go out when in a relationship? When in a relationship.
You got it right. See, this is why the whole argument started.
Um I don't want to say it's permission.
Hmm.
Like it's not like a formal like, hey, is it okay if I go out with so and so today?
Absolutely not.
It's not that kind of idea, and I think that that's what people think when you're saying, "Oh, let me run it with Elvis, or let me check in with Elvis." People be like, probably think like, "Oh, he has to control everything she's gonna do," or "What's this about permission?" Or it's kind of like, if I say, "Hey, babe, can I get a haircut?" or "Can I wear this?" and he tells me, "No, you can't wear that to go out," and I do it. No, that's not what we're talking about. I think it's more of like, I don't know, I think I'm being considerate. I think that when you're in a committed relationship,
Hmm.
this is separate from like, dating. Well, again, we haven't dated in decades. No, not decades, but years. It's different when you're dating, because when you're dating, you're like lax, chill.
Hmm.
You're just getting to know somebody. You're not living particularly together in the dating stage. So you can kind of like do you. Oh, te invita Sara to do this, and you can just be out and keep it moving, or Bob, whoever, anybody. Bob.
That's some
Anybody
weird names.
invites you, you can come and go. But then once you're like in a committed relationship, especially living together,
Hmm.
you have to have some type of dialogue about what's going on, what's gonna happen or what you're gonna do. That's how I see it as.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, I don't think it's necessarily what is that you said? You said is
I had said like considering.
considering. I think it's more scheduling wise more than anything else, right? Because I'm usually, for example, I'll be like, "Hey, listen, babe, do we have anything this day?" And you're really ya estás inventando. What are you gonna do? What you gonna? And whoever hears that, they're probably like, "Oh, Elvis be going out all the time." No, I just be doing a lot of stuff most of the time.
Yeah.
Um, but to go out and stuff like that, I think you should be considerate of your partner, and you
Mhm.
should be able to have that dialogue of, "Hey, listen, and are you doing something? Who's with the kids? Do you got work? Do you have overtime? Are you doing anything else? Do we have a church event? Right? Our agenda is so crazy. We don't have time to go out half of the
Yeah.
time, right? We would just talk. We had an argument behind the scenes talking about, oh, you never take me out. I said,
A
babe,
disagreement.
no, it's an argument. You never take me out. I said, babe, I take you out at least to dinner once a month, or at least twice a month. And she over here trying to pull bank accounts to see when's the last time we went out. Man, like, you can't say I don't want to take you out, but we're so busy caught off with everything that we're
Yeah.
doing that we don't necessarily have time to go out to dinner all the time.
I
I told
really
her,
did check
I
the
said,
account to see the last
"Oh,
transaction
they
of.
know I'm saying the truth. I only say the truth." It's like afterwards, before we even started recording their podcast, I was like, "Babe, after our podcast, let's go eat dinner."
And I'm like, no.
So it's like she wants it, but then she doesn't want to go out. So it's like, and where I'm going with all of this mumble and stuff like that. Yes, I do
Not
agree
mamba.
that you have to have communication, but also you have to realize, like, what are you doing at home, right? Because if you don't even have time to go out with your spouse, but you have time to go out with your buddies or your friends all the times, then do you truly have a balance, right?
Yeah.
Because I haven't gone out with the guys in, a minute, right? Tell me if I'm saying the truth.
No, it's true. He
It,
hasn't got
it's
out.
been
But when he goes out with the guys,
excuse me, wait, leave that for later, babe. You adelantándote. This is why we need a paper. Forget about that. Forget about that. Okay, that's another conversation later, a
I'll
little bit
bring it
later.
back. Go ahead.
Um, but just overall, we should, because I mean, it's all about balance, right? Because everybody has their commitments, their jobs, or whatever they're doing. Their kids. If you have kids involved, it's even harder, right?
Hmm.
Because your partner is probably working, and you're like, oh, great, I could go. do something with the guys, or the girls want to go out, they want to go out, but who's staying with the kids?
Yeah.
So you kind of have to have a balance where even your kid, for example, I say all the time, like you want to go out with your kid. If your kid is old enough that you could take her out on a date, even as your son, it doesn't matter. Just go out with them, take them to a movie, spend some quality time
Mm-hmm.
outside the house. If you're not doing those little things, why are you even thinking about hanging out with the bros or the girls? Like there should be some type of balance.
Yeah, I think that I
I think
s-
when we
I
break
say
that,
I think a lot.
yeah, you say all the time. No, no, I say the same thing too. I think also when you're all the time trying to do everything else, and trying to go out all the
Uh-huh.
time, your partner's gonna be upset because they're like, man, you're not even taking care of the house, the simple stuff.
Yeah, I agree. I think that it also depends on what going out looks like, right?
But let's not get there yet. I want to give a perfect example, right? If I wanted to go out, it should be okay, right? Because my wife came yesterday home. I picked up both of my daughters. The other one, I dropped her off in here. I cooked dinner.
Hmm.
So when she came home, everything was said and done. And after she finished work, she was coming home to do her other thing that is doing in the
Was that
side.
yesterday? No.
Yeah, was it?
Yesterday, no. Tuesday, I didn't have anything.
So you want to stop my
I'm
conversation because
sorry.
it
Go
was two
ahead.
days ago?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So the day that Denise decides that it was,
Ay, Dios mío.
that's a perfect example of like, man, you're making sure everything is 100% in the house, right? I took the kids that way you can do what you have to do, and it's like, okay, you should be able to spend your own time because you've been doing so many different stuff for the house too.
Yeah, but that's not going out.
I'm saying, if I want to go out, I'm making sure everything is on order in the house. So afterwards, I should be able to go out in another day or time. That's what I'm saying. Like nobody should complain like, oh, you haven't done anything in the house and you want to go out.
Yeah, but that should then in a sense you're kind of making it sound like it's permission or transactional.
It's not, but there has to be a balance in the house. That's what I'm saying.
So if you're not doing your role as a man, then you're not gonna be going out.
I wouldn't know what to say about that because I do what I'm supposed to do. So that's why other bros, I'll keep you in my prayers. And it's
That's
not about
interesting.
us too. It's about
I know,
females
but it
too.
just sounds like transactional. Like to me, it is. I
So you
don't.
would so you would be okay if
Well,
I don't do anything in the house. I don't spend time with you. I don't spend time with the girls and want to be going out all the time.
nah, I'll be a little annoyed.
Okay, so
I
it's not
would be.
transactional. It's about having a balance.
Yeah, yeah. I would be a little bit annoyed about
No,
that.
you would be very annoyed. You won't be a little bit annoyed because when I do go out, actually, you're not annoyed, but you miss me. That's what it is. You don't get annoyed.
I guess not. I don't know. I feel like we don't have really that issue at this point because, well, one, we're not in that space anymore. I remember when we first were married.
It's a nightmare.
Well, we were just all a hot mess. But Elvis would work, right? He was at especially Eddie's first year. He was the one working. I wasn't working. I was just doing undergrad. And on top of him working late at night, he would also come home late at night because he would go hang out and then come home to just sleep and then go back to work. There was no time in between that he was really dedicating to the relationship or even like at home because he worked. You were doing, I think, overnights at that point.
Well, it was just crazy hours because I was working in Fifth Avenue. So
Yeah.
it was crazy
And then he
hours.
would just go to hang out after. And it's like,
I
bro,
told you it was going to get annoying if there wasn't a balance.
yeah. So I would get upset. Like, what are you doing? Like, you have an oficio, like, you have responsibilities here at home that you're negating to be hanging out. And he never saw a problem with it. So that's when that was like a big issue because it was like he wanted to do him and not dedicate the time here. So I can see how like yeah, it gets annoying when it's like, "Oh, I'm going to do me." And it wasn't even a point where he would even tell me. So I think that's what even was more upsetting. Cuz it wasn't like, "Hey, babe, me and the coworkers are going to go out." I'll be like, "Yo, where you at? Are you okay?" "Oh, estoy afuera." Or sometimes I wouldn't even get a response. And that was like upsetting
Yeah.
because there was no communication, right? Um
Yeah, but for my head back then was if I'm already providing, right, the financial stability, the home, I don't have to do anything else. That's where my head was back then.
Yeah, but it doesn't make it okay
No, I'm not saying it's okay. It's horrible.
because there has to be some form of communication.
Absolutely.
And you know, you got to consider like your partner at home. Like, yeah, I wasn't working, and just because I wasn't working and just going to college doesn't mean that I also didn't deserve or was entitled to having a break, because back then I would take Ellie with me everywhere, to everything. If I wanted to go to the beach, if I wanted to go out to eat, anything I did, I took her with me.
Providing is not enough. Like, if, that's not everything, right? You have
Mhm.
to have everything else as well. So I feel like just and plus, when you're in a committed relationship with somebody, you shouldn't have your head of, "Oh, I want to hang out all the time." You
Yeah.
want to hang out. I'm not saying don't do it, because when I hang out with my friends, we don't even have an agenda. We go to eat, and then we go to a city. We drive around. We're joking around, and we're doing bloopers all over the place and messing around with, oh, look at this guy. Oh, let's go over there. Oh, let's run over there. Look, there was a night that it was like six of us, and we just started renting the bikes, the city bikes, Citibank bikes, and we started driving well, not driving, riding
Right.
the bicycles over the bridge of Brooklyn Bridge in the middle of 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. We don't even know where we was, and then we
Yeah.
started getting hungry. We're like, "Yo, let's eat again." So it was just about going out, but you can't be doing that all the time. Like, you should, like, your goal should be just making sure that you're good with the family, spending good quality time with the family.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking about that. It's crazy because how different we are, right? Because he's saying like a lot of the times their things are sporadic, right? With like me, it's like I have to plan everything.
Yeah.
So I think that's where also sometimes the frustration comes in, not necessarily the that I need to ask permission or that he needs to give me like he needs to ask me permission to go out, but the almost a little bit of like jealousy of the flexibility he has as a man that I do, right? Like for example,
Mm,
I'm
go ahead.
I wouldn't like if I go out, I come back home at like normal times, right? Like for me, like I've never come home, I think. Now, back then, when I also went through my little phase of doing me, yes, I would come home. I would be honest. There's times I even came home probably not sober. Like there was times that I came not the way I should as a married woman as well. To not make it seem like I was the only one.
Yeah, but I wasn't
No,
always
I
just
know.
doing. I could be fishing. I like fishing. I would go with Negros to
Oh
go
yeah,
fishing.
but he would do that
I,
all they wanted to do. The thing is that he wanted to do it in excess,
Yeah,
like
but we
all
would
the
go fishing
time.
2, 3 o'clock in the morning, get some Taco Bell. We would be, but I wasn't doing anything
I
bad.
know.
That's what I'm saying. So there is okay of going out. Also, I think more than not only having the balance, you also have to think about who you're surrounding yourself around, right? Because I was hanging out with married men, so we're not like going to hit on girls and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you have to be the same person all the time. You can't be a different person in the house and then a different person with the guys, right? Oh,
Mhm.
I'm with the guys, forget about it. I'm single, or I'm going wild, so I'm gonna drink, I'm gonna do this and that. No, man, you should be the same person all the time. And the circle around you should even protect you, meaning if you put yourself in a situation where there is probably temptation and whatnot, which you shouldn't, but let's just say you do put yourself in a place, that circle, those friends should be able to push you back. Whereas, like, nah, man, don't go in there. Why? Because they love you as much, not only yourself, but also your marriage as well. They want to make sure that you don't fall in sin and you don't do something that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah. So, like I was saying, I think part of that's where sometimes I feel like with me it's like a little bit of jealousy of your ability to be flexible and going out, right? Like I have to go out at like a reasonable time. I'm a female. It's not like I can what am I going to be doing at this point
Mm-hmm.
late at night at peak hours in the morning? It's not like I can go with my female friends to ride a bike in the city and feel as safe as a guy would, right? So but that's that's part of just the way unfortunately life is.
Mm-hmm.
Um so I think that's where in some sense I can see how it also is a problem with the going out with a partner because we may not have the same ability, right? Um when I go out, it's kind of like I gotta be home at a certain time. Like I'm just mindful of everything else, and I'm not saying you don't think of that, and that you don't worry or care about what's going on at home. But in my mind, it's like, oh, let me go out, let me see how long, and then like if I have other friends who are also moms, and they have younger babies, like they're thinking, oh, I gotta come home to, feed them, do this, that. So it's even harder for me to even go out. I feel like it's hard to make friends. It's hard to I don't know why I'm getting emotional about it, but like it's hard to do stuff. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that that ties into the conflicts of when partners are going out, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like a lot of times when we used to have issues of you
Mm-hmm.
going out, it would stem from that, like, oh, I can't do that, or like I used to get so worked up about him coming home 3 in the morning and him not necessarily doing nothing bad, what he just said about being like in the city, but it was just unfair because I couldn't do that,
Mm-hmm.
like everything I have to do is super planned, and sometimes I think it gets overwhelming, um to the point that's like you don't want to go out, like I
Yeah.
don't want to have to plan, even though I have you here and you're willing to stay with the girls, but there's only so much I can do
Yeah.
realistically, like, you know so that's why I'd rather just do things that involve the family, because
Yeah,
when
but I even tell you, go on a trip to Disney with the girls, go on
I know, but it's
Miami.
with the
Do
girls.
no, I'm saying with your friend, female
I know,
friends.
but
Like,
then it's
you weren't you
like,
going to Jamaica with my
I
sister?
don't
And
know.
I was like, I'm saying, like, it's not like I'm restricting you, right? I'm like, hey, listen, it's okay to take a trip, travel, do something, just have fun, enjoy a while, because you're married to me, but that doesn't mean that you can't go out and enjoy and kind of get a break from everything over here, right?
Yeah.
And kind of step to the side, recharge your batteries, and miss a little bit home, miss a little
Yeah.
bit your husband, miss a little bit your kids, miss the comfort of being home. So I feel like we all need that break here and there. Again, I'm not saying go out every week, every month and stuff like that. Just I go with the flow. I don't have a particular agenda, right? I go based on availability. We haven't gone out in a minute. Um, my anniversary and my birthday is next month. I would
Our
like,
anniversary.
yes, our anniversary and my birthday is next month. I would like to go out with the guys. Is it gonna happen? Yes or no? I don't know. But my plan is, well, my small plan is go eat steak in the city. So
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. But again, it's also about your intention, right? Because there's people that go out there, right? And they just want to go and hit up on girls or hit up on guys. And this is the moment that I could go out and dance and get crazy because I get attention, right? Because there's people that just want to go out for
Yeah.
attention. So if you're doing it in that way where, okay, every time I go out, this is the only place where I actually get attention. This is the only place where I feel like I'm myself. Then you have something wrong. You're living a double lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? Because you should be the same person outside and the same person in your house as well. So I think that's very important. And your spouse should trust you enough to be like, listen, I know that they're not doing anything bad, right?
Mhm.
And you shouldn't allow space for them to even think that way, right? And it's a little difficult because if there is infidelity, right? How do you gain trust if there was infidelity in the past, in the trash, in the it is trash.
The
Eh,
behavior is
yeah.
trash.
So how could you can't go partying all the time if you messed up, bro, a girl, you need to fix and earn that trust again before you
Yeah.
still even go outside.
It
And it's
might
gonna
take
take a
some
time.
time.
Yes, absolutely. It's gonna because you don't earn somebody's trust that easily when you broke that trust. Like you
Mhm.
really just ripped that apart. Yeah, that you probably were forgiven, but it's gonna take time to take care of those wounds, and you can't pretend to be going on. Nah, man, like just put a pause on all of that, unfortunately, because you put yourself in that situation.
Or be willing to, answer questions, right? Like be willing, like if your partner is still, even after an infidelity, able to say like, yeah, go ahead, go, go out, but ask you like, hey, is everything okay? Or where are you
They're gonna
going?
ask, yeah,
Be able to compromise and be like, all right, so, if I'm gonna go out, let me just check in with her so she feels a little bit at ease.
yeah,
Um, doesn't mean it's always gonna be like that, or it doesn't mean that eventually another conversation might have to be like, hey, have you really let this go and forgiven me, or is this gonna continue being an issue anytime I do go out? Um, but definitely, like if certain things strain the relationship, consideration is needed when going out, right?
totally, yeah,
Like if you were unfaithful with someone in the presence of a friend, I might not feel comfortable you hanging out with that friend because
yep,
that person is your bro, and right, and it's not pro us, right? I don't want you around
Listen,
friends
your
that are not
circle.
gonna promote the well-being of your
That's
relationship
it.
either.
That's another thing. Your circle of friends. I mentioned it before. Your wife and your husband is gonna know who you hanging out around. So if you're hanging out with somebody, it's crazy because, right? I'm married and I hang out a lot of times with people that are single, right?
Single,
But single. Well, I said singing.
like single.
Single. Okay, so it's late at night. But if they're single, they're probably gonna be hitting up on girls. They're probably gonna be doing a little bit
Hitting up.
more dancing. I'm getting tired. They're probably doing a lot of other stuff. That does not mean that I'm supposed to be doing that.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the confusion comes. Where okay, he could get there, what or she could get there. It doesn't gotta be a he. It could be a she
Hmm.
too. He or she could get to the house whenever they want. You can't. You have a wife or a husband waiting for you at home. So you got to be wise about that too. You can't be like, oh, but he's doing it and he's not doing anything bad, or she's doing it, she's not doing anything bad. Yeah, but they're not married. You are.
It's what works in your home, right?
Absolutely.
It's whatever boundaries and limits you guys set, and being mindful. Like there's a difference between respect and controlling,
Mm-hmm.
right? Controlling is more in a dominant way where I'm gonna punish. Like if you go out, I'm gonna give you the silent treatment when you come back, right? Because that's more in a control, right? Where like I'm upset that you went out,
Yeah.
and now you're gonna be punished in a sense for going out, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna give you hell because you went out,
Mm-hmm.
right? Versus out of respect, it's like, I'm gonna respect that, my wife's waiting home for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just gonna come home at set time, not because I have to be here and she's gonna punish me, but because I want to make her still also happy, or I still also want to respect my household as well. Like there's a difference between respect and control.
And it's
Um,
like the episode we were talking about before. If you're waiting at home and he or she's getting home late, you're probably very upset. Don't make any choice, any decisions to do anything because you're upset and you don't want to decide anything. Like, for example, you said a perfect example of, oh no, I'm going to give you hell. But there's another example where, like, okay, you went out today. Tomorrow I'm going out and I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to put on my Facebook, my Instagram. I'm going out here and there. I'm doing it to hurt you.
Out of spite, yeah.
So it's completely different. And you're doing that because you're so upset, you got rebellious, and really you're hurting yourself because you're messing up with either your marriage or your relationship just because of one night.
Yeah.
I think it's better to just let things to cool down, sit down, and really set up expectations. Like, listen, like I just don't trust you enough yet for you to be out with this person, to be out this far away, or to be out in this place, right? Because I mean, you got it little by little. You're gonna get there. It's like me
Mhm.
traveling to Puerto Rico. In the beginning, you're like, oh my god, I'm nervous. I don't want him to go. Oh my god, but it wasn't bad. But I know in the beginning you were probably like, oh my gosh. But eventually, it's like, oh, this is normal, right?
Yeah.
This is what he's doing, and this is one of the goals he has, and eventually it just became normal. So
Yeah, and people were kind of like, I know, like, oh, I could never, or
you probably thought yourself you can never
um,
do this.
I don't think necessarily. I don't know. I don't know. But some people are like, oh, that doesn't look right, that he's over there, or like, when's your next trip? So it's like just because he got to do something
They
doesn't
always
mean
want to do that, man.
I necessarily always have to do it,
Yeah.
right? Because that's also in a way a form of, or just because, or and it's not to the point where it's like only he gets to do it, right? I'm sure if I had to take a trip or do something, I do it. Um, but it's not always gonna be equal,
Yeah.
right? The same way we've spoken about even sharing responsibilities in the home. Nothing we do is always gonna be equal,
Yep.
and we have to be okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're expecting it to be equal always, you're going to be unhappy. It's going to be an unrealistic expectation, right? Elvis has the flexibility with his work. He has more time that he can take off than I do. I don't have, I have time, but I have to spread out,
Mm-hmm.
make those days last throughout the year. Um, Especially because my job isn't remote fully. So if I have to take off, I like legit, I can't, I
Mm-hmm.
don't, he gets to preserve his time because he gets to work from home.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, it's not always going to be equal. And I think that even in going out, we have to understand that. And I guess I'm speaking to myself that, unfortunately, as, being the way I am, I'm not gonna be able to be as laxed in going out, and I shouldn't get upset at Elvis for having that flexibility or ability to do it, right? Because it's not that he prevents me; it's just I think, in a sense, I prevent myself from going out and doing things because so many things, right? But I think another thing to consider is if you have kids, um, childcare, right? Being mindful, like, hey, I want to go out to do this. Are you going to be home? Do you have any plans? Because someone has to stay with the kids. And it's not babysitting because dislike when people be like, oh my God, that's so nice that he's babysitting the kids. No, he's
Well,
taking care of his kids.
that's my
The same way I
responsibility
am
as a
taking,
father.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
like
So, yeah,
if anything, get more pampered with me. But we could agree to disagree on that one. But I do a lot of stuff with them.
whatever. He does. Point is, do you need to ask permission to go out?
Mm-mm,
No.
mm-mm.
Should you talk about it with your partner? Because if you're in a committed relationship, you shouldn't be going to and from as you please without checking in with your partner. Yes. Should you not put yourself in positions that can lead to temptation or do something that is good but looks bad? No, right? You shouldn't put yourself in those
Run
predicaments
away.
or compromise the integrity of your relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to give space. People talk. People always going to talk. People going to make assumptions about the way your relationship works, but you don't want to add or give space for someone to talk or infiltrate like something negative into that relationship. And
And a perfect example of that is if your spouse or your partner was to see you in that particular moment outside, right? I mean, sorry, if your partner or your spouse or your partner is able to see you in that particular moment outside, would they feel like, okay, they're having a good time, or would they feel ashamed? Would
mhm.
they say, I can't believe I trusted her, I trusted him, and look at what they're doing? Or would they be like, it's great that they're having a good time, it's great, right? Are they doing something good, or are they doing something shameful? Are they doing something bad? Are they, right? You get what I'm
Are they
saying, right?
disrespecting like our relationship,
Absolutely.
doing something to
Don't
cause
do
harm?
don't do anything that you wouldn't want to see your spouse doing to you.
Yes.
That's really what it is.
Yes, because I think that's like important, right? So it's like if you would like to go out, let you give space for your partner to go out too,
Hmm.
right? It can't just be one sided where it's like, oh, I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna do me, I'm gonna do this, and you're not cultivating that for your partner. So no, it's not permission, it's more consideration, communication, ultimately what works best for you and your partner, right?
Absolutely.
If you're making the decision to not go out because you want to stay home with your partner instead, that's different, right? Like if I would rather probably be home anyway, hanging out with you guys anyway
Hmm.
over going out. But yeah, I think it's whatever works best for your relationship, the integrity of your relationship, and the growth of your relationship. But definitely time away, separate time from each other is always needed.
Absolutely. This is good talk, babe.
Hmm. It had to be said.
And it was said. Take care, guys.